Stone Cold Steve Austin is universally beloved by fans and wrestlers alike. Well, for the most part. A few have had their grudges against the Texas Rattlesnake, and he's bitten back too. For a few years in the late 90s and early 2000s, Steve Austin was arguably the biggest star in pro wrestling history. Austin was the face of the Attitude Era in WWE, while the top star of the 80s, Hulk Hogan, headed up the NWO over in WCW. Hogan returned to WWE in 2002 after WCW went out of business and believed that coming back to WWE caused a rift between him and Austin. The proof? The two never faced off in a match despite the obvious money it would have drawn. Hall of Fame commentator Jim Ross confirmed that Austin thought their styles were like oil and water. He just didn't think he and Hogan would have the chemistry for a great match.
Because you got to understand the hype is going to be intense. Stone Cold versus Hulk. People were expecting a classic.
Ross said Austin just wasn't feeling it despite Ross and others pitching a showdown with Hogan at WrestleMania. Austin apparently had no problem inviting Hogan on his podcast, though, because the Hulkster went on the Steve Austin Show in 2021. Austin expressed his respect and said he had no heat with Hulk. Hogan went on the MMA Hour in 2023 and explained further.
I don't know if there was any heat there just wasn't a relationship.
Before Owen Hart's tragic death in May 1999, he and Stone Cold Steve Austin weren't exactly enemies, but they weren't friends either. Hart broke Austin's neck with a pile driver gone wrong at SummerSlam 1997. Austin somehow finished the match, but suffered from temporary paralysis and a bruised spinal cord, putting him on the shelf for months. Owen didn't mean for the injury to happen and felt bad about it, but his brother Bret Hart revealed that Owen forgot to call Austin to apologize. The Hitman explained that his brother didn't think about wrestling once he left the arena, leading Austin to believe Owen didn't care about his injury. Austin has said he was hurt by the lack of concern Owen showed for him. Austin and Hart worked together again, but in only one more singles match when Austin returned at Survivor Series 1997. They'd face off in a few more tag team matches, though, with the last happening in July 1998. After Owen died, Austin honored him on Raw. For pretty much all of their overlapping in-ring careers, Austin and Roddy Piper were in different companies, so they never met in a match, but they did finally have a showdown in the podcast arena. In 2015, both of their shows were on the Podcast One network. That April, Piper had comedian Will Sasso on his show. Sasso, as he so often does, performed impressions of lots of different wrestlers, including Austin.
And now it's a shotgun blast when I hit the stunner, sell it.
Sasso and Piper poked fun at the Texas Rattlesnake, claiming that he only got over with fans via catchphrases like hell yeah and what? Within hours of that episode going live, it was taken down, as was Piper's entire show. According to Ric Flair, Piper was also dropped from his WWE Legends deal. Piper eventually re-emerged on another podcast network, claiming that Austin was behind his removal at Podcast One. On his own podcast, Austin did admit that he requested that the network remove the episode with Sasso because of mentions of a few personal things he didn't necessarily want discussed publicly, but Austin denied that he had Piper removed from the network entirely. Piper suddenly died just a few months later in July 2015. Austin has never revealed whether the two buried the hatchet, but did post on X that he was saddened by Piper's death, calling him one of the greats. Ahmed Johnson claimed that the Texas Rattlesnake was racist to him backstage. That accusation came up again when Austin had Mark Henry as a guest on his podcast in 2019.
That's a completely fabricated story and complete horse.
After Johnson won the Intercontinental Championship in 1996, he says he went back to his car to find racist slurs spray painted on it. Johnson claimed he heard through fans that Austin was seen near the car that night. Austin didn't address the allegation until making the denial on his podcast. Henry said he was glad Austin got the opportunity to discuss it because Johnson was not a valid source for the story. Neither Austin nor Johnson has talked in public about the allegation since. Jeff Jarrett decided to take some shots at Austin in an October 1997 promo on Raw. The worked shoot also included criticism of then WCW President Eric Bischoff and WWE Chairman Vince McMahon. In particular, Jarrett pointed at the star-making Austin 316 slogan, calling it blasphemous and offensive because, as he saw it, Austin was ripping off the Bible to make a profit. Those lines were reportedly not in the original script, according to writer Vince Russo.
I wrote Jeff's promo, but he put a part in there that I did not write.
After the promo aired, Austin refused to work with Jarrett, but Austin's heat with the Jarrett family went back even further than the promo. Years earlier, Austin worked for Jeff's father, promoter Jerry Jarrett, in Memphis, and was famously underpaid to the point he had to survive on raw potatoes.
After a few days, I ran out of
tuna fish. So for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'd peel a raw potato and eat that.
The pair seemingly buried the hatchet, however, and Jarrett appeared on Austin's Broken Skull sessions in June 2022. Austin and Jarrett dispelled rumors of any heat between them in the first few minutes of the podcast, saying that the rumors took on a life of their own. Vince McMahon was a wrestler in the same way Jeff Bezos is an astronaut. Yes, they do it every once in a while, but it's not their job. That's being billionaire businessmen, and Austin's brief real-life beef with McMahon in 2002 was all about business. Austin famously walked out of WWE after refusing to put over a young Brock Lesnar in a King of the Ring qualifying match on Raw. Austin has explained that his animosity wasn't about Lesnar, but that the match was being put on free TV with no build.
They wanted you to lose to some chump?
Yeah, in a no build-up match, nothing.
Why did they want?
Feeling disrespected, Austin didn't show up. It was the last straw for Austin after months of building tension, and McMahon proceeded to bury the Texas Rattlesnake on live TV in his own promo and those from other wrestlers, including The Rock. Jim Ross ultimately mended fences by sending Austin a simple postcard to get talks started again. McMahon and Austin made amends, and the WWE chairman inducted Stone Cold into the Hall of Fame in 2009. Austin even delivered one final stunner to his old on-screen rival at WrestleMania 38, 2 years before McMahon left WWE for good in the wake of a sex trafficking lawsuit from a former employee.